Hi guys, I'm Riley Bay and this is Being Heard, and today I'm here with Jade Scarfonee. Jade, do you want to say hi?
Hi. Oh God.
Yeah, so Jade has done, she's posted a really amazing post on my Instagram platform, and I'm going to have her read it out for us and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. Amazing.
Thanks, Riley.
Yeah.
All right. So Riley asked me to share my story on her feed, and I kind of just riffed about everything that was fresh on my mind recently. So this is what came up. I remember being in high school and my friends and I would talk about how we wanted to be married and have kids and be settled by 30. 30. That age we're led to believe is the end of our lives if we don't have all of those things. Our 20s went by in a blur of parties and clubbing, but the clock was ticking. We had to get serious if we were going to fulfill our dreams. By 26, I was on track to have it all. The high-paying corporate job, I met my boyfriend, and we were talking about houses and kids. But I couldn't get rid of this nagging feeling that there had to be more. I kept questioning whether this was really my dream or just something someone else had planted in my mind. I found myself stressed and depressed, sitting on a psychologist's couch saying there had to be more to life. A few months later, I had quit my job and moved to Bali. I started to live the dreamy laptop lifestyle and feel excited about life again. But my partner wasn't interested. So after a few months of living the high life, I went back home. I pretended I was happy, but really I was just settling. I'd already quit my job, so I couldn't end my relationship as well. Then people would really think I was crazy. I ignored the soul nudges and continued to stay in a relationship that wasn't supportive of my dreams, all because I was afraid of what people would think. I lost myself in the process, became a shadow of who I once was. I was miserable, but still I couldn't leave. I was too afraid to be on my own. Then last year, the universe gave me the space I needed to heal, to find love within myself again, and to realize I didn't need a relationship to fulfill me, not the one I was in anyway. So I finally had the courage to walk away. And since then, my life has been nothing but magic. And my biggest desire is to inspire women to see that they've always been enough just as they are, to listen to themselves and trust in their own judgment, and to know that no matter what other people think, they get to choose what's right for them. They get to be their wild, powerful, fully expressed selves. And in doing that, they can have everything they want and more. No settling necessary.
Oh, that's amazing. I have literally read that or heard it been read to me about a million times, and it never gets old. It's really powerful words and it's really inspiring. I feel like often, we find ourselves in this place as women feeling empty, and in search or in need of someone to fill that empty void inside of us, because we've kind of grown up with this narrative that we need a man and we need to do this and we need to have marriage and kids, and it's an older narrative, and I feel like something that we're growing out of slowly, and your writing kind of just shows that, and it shows that women are, now stepping out of that sort of comfort zone. But there's still a lot that don't quite understand that, and they're kind of stuck and still in that sort of old way and old paradigm of living. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting you bring up that point, because I look at all my friends back in Perth and I just see their lives and how that was the path that I would have been on. And
right.
When I left, I was leaving behind all my friends. They pretty much all were in relationships and with kids, and so I was like, why am I the only one that doesn't feel like this is what I want? And so that was kind of the reason why I kept staying in my relationship, because I was like, well, that's the done thing, that's what everyone does. And even when it's not the best relationship, people are more happy to see you with a partner than on your own.
Absolutely. Toxic relationships are normalized.
Yeah.
They're so ridiculously normalized through media, movie, music, like all of what we consume on a daily basis is normalizing toxic relationships that aren't healthy or fulfilling or that help you grow as an individual. I find that a lot of the times when we enter a relationship, it becomes quite codependent because that's all our subconscious knows. That's all that we've been fed to believe. And so to break free of something like that is a really strong thing, and to kind of wake up and to be aware as well that that is not suited for you or fulfilling your individual needs. You know, you said that you moved to Bali and like you had this really epic life going for you, and then, you know, you moved back to be with someone that wasn't so epic. And, you know, you kind of got stuck there for a minute because you believed that this is how it was supposed to be, even though your soul was kind of telling you something different. But you're out of it now, which is really amazing and really brave.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, for your friends back in Adelaide, back in Perth, you know, that's what makes them happy and fulfilled. And absolutely go do that. I think a lot of the time we see it as like a one way or another. It's like, oh, like if they're married and have kids, that's, you know, that's the old narrative and they're living that. But really, like, that could just be their happiness and their fulfillment, which is amazing as well. But your soul was yearning for something completely different. You were in a toxic relationship. You did the move, then you came back, and then you did the move again. What kind of like inspired that awakening within you?
So we actually moved to the Sunshine Coast together because we wanted to get away from the party lifestyle and just start fresh here. And we thought it would be good for our relationship if we came here and got away from everyone. And it actually made it worse because then it was like, okay, it's just us two now. We have no escape, like nowhere to really get away from each other. And then it's really started to bring up all our issues. And we just spent 2 years basically fighting. And I got to the point where I had such low self-esteem and I was so dependent on him financially because I was in such a bad place that I was trying to make my business work and it just wasn't working, and I was constantly blaming him, and then I was relying on him, so I was like, I can't leave. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then last year I just got really lucky during all the COVID lockdowns. He was working in Melbourne and he got stuck over there for a few months, and that's when I decided this is it. I'm like fully going in on my business.
Yeah.
I invested in this coaching program, which I thought was going to be business coaching, but it turned out to be like this full-on like healing inner child work, trauma work, sexuality work, like all the intense stuff. And so that's when I had this like massive awakening and was like, what am I doing? Why am I staying?
Wow.
And then, just a few months on, I started to meet different people that were more aligned with what I wanted in life. And I was like, what am I doing? And that's what led me to have the confidence to finally leave.
Amazing. Yeah, sometimes we just kind of need that space, and then we need that little extra help to heal something within us. How funny that it ended up being a completely different course to what you had expected, and it was all about healing the trauma and the inner child, because it's those things that create the dependency in those sort of relationships as well, I believe. Like our inner child, you know, they might have some trauma from being rejected as a kid, whether it be from your parents or, you know, maybe that teenager that got rejected by boys, and so we kind of subconsciously build those sort of dependencies in our relationships and react them out in a really unhealthy way without knowing it as well. So what your course has just gone and done is like been like swoop, 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 healed all the things that you kind of needed to like wake up and see where you wanted to go and what wasn't serving you anymore as well. That's amazing.
It was quite intense.
I can imagine.
Lots of crying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What a release.
It was like really, really good, because then it had gotten to the point where I was just like so disconnected from who I am. I didn't want to be around people at all. I basically shut myself off from the world.
Wow.
And then it was actually my friend taking me to this event where I actually met all of you guys. And that's what changed everything. thing.
It's amazing.
Then, yeah, I was like, wow, there's like all these amazing people, and I don't have to stay in that environment, which was just drinking, drugs, partying, like just not what I wanted to be doing anymore.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you live in the clean, happy, thriving life, because you're now doing social media, right? You've completely built your business. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do a few bits of everything, mainly social media for certain clients, and then I do like marketing and systems, like email marketing, sales funnels, landing pages, all of that kind of stuff, because this is also where my business wasn't taking off, because I had bought into the idea that the only way to succeed online was to be a coach. And so I was trying so hard to promote myself and sell myself, but it never felt right for me.
Yeah.
And then I actually learned about human design last year, which was
Isn't
another
that
thing
crazy? Yeah.
that like completely blew my mind.
What are you?
I'm a projector.
You're a projector. I'm surrounded by projectors. I'm a Manny Jen. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Everyone says that. Oh. I'm still getting into it, so I'm like, does it?
One of my clients is a human design reader. So
Amazing.
I have all the information if you want any.
Oh, love that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so learning that information was just like, wow, this is why none of this felt good for me. And it actually serves me to be behind the scenes supporting other people's businesses.
Wow.
Because I like to just do my thing and not have to be in the limelight all the time and not have to be constantly hustling and putting myself out there. And I like to just create for the fun of it.
Absolutely. Well, that's what you are. You're creative, right? And I feel like what it sounds like is, you know, you knew kind of all along that you were out of alignment. But as soon as those things started to kind of shift and you started to walk your path in alignment with your, you know, higher self, whatever you want to call it, and live out your dharma. Yeah, it's funny how all those things kind of clicked into place for you, because, you know, since I've known Jade, clients have just been coming to her. She hasn't had to seek anyone out, and it's because you weren't trying, right? You weren't trying to be something that you weren't. You kind of were like, you took a look at yourself and you're like, you know what, like, that doesn't feel right for me. I'm gonna try it this way because that actually feels like it's aligning with me. And as soon as you like shifted those blocks, it's like stuff started pouring into your life.
Like literally, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, it's literally been 2 or 3 months. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, it's insane.
How insane, yeah. How fast things happen when you get into alignment. And that's what one of my other coaches has said. She's like, the highest level of integrity is to just speak your truth. And then as soon as you are aligned with your truth, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to worry about people not agreeing with you or polarizing people, because the right people are going to be magnetized to your energy.
Absolutely.
And just show up in your truth.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's what happens. I feel that, and I feel like we're also surrounded by really inspiring people that are living in alignment, and so it kind of like they build you up as well, and it's really beautiful to kind of witness and like see how that is starting to play out, and you know, what a beautiful thing to be a part of as well.
And like that's the thing, and that's why I love that I actually don't work from home a lot, because I'll go and sit at a cafe, or I'll go sit at the beach or something, and I'll run into someone who's working as well, and we're like, oh, what are you working on? And there's like, everyone's doing a million different things. No one's just stuck in one straight boring thing, and it's just so exciting, and everyone's so passionate, and it's just super inspiring to be around.
Absolutely.
All that creative energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it just boosts you in return, really. Yeah. So I know that you've like what you just read and what we talked about behind the scenes is you've lived a lot of your life kind of conforming to people's opinions, or scared of what people might think of you, and so you've been kind of walking a path that is based around what other people want you to do. So how does it feel to kind of be on the other end of that? So you've kind of, you know, First tell me how, I'd love to know how it felt in that,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of how you are now and coming out of that, or like starting to really kind of find your way away from other people's shit.
Yeah. So basically, I was the oldest child, so I was like the role model for the family, and so it was like, have to be the good girl, get the good grades.
I get it.
Painful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did the whole go to school, go to uni, lead by example, get a really good job. And I was like the golden child at one point because my dad works at a bank and then I got a job at a bank. And so we really bonded over that, and we had a lot of the same clients and we were doing very similar work. So the day I announced that I was quitting my job, he was just like, what are you doing? You're insane. But yeah, it literally got to the point in my job where I was just crying. There was this one morning where I remember I was just crying uncontrollably and I just couldn't go to work, and my mum had to call my boss and she's like, Jade's just not coming in today. And I had no idea what was wrong with me, and that's when I ended up going to see a psychologist and finding out I was depressed. And it was basically the turning point because I went to the doctor. They were just going to prescribe me antidepressants, and something inside said, no, just don't take them. So
chemically induced robots. That's what I call it. Yeah.
And I remember just, something inside me was just like, no, you don't need this. Like, instead of needing drugs to enjoy your life, you should be able to just enjoy your life and do something that makes you happy.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I remember I took 6 weeks off work and I was just like scrolling through Facebook one day and I saw this post from someone that was traveling and living in Bali and doing this online business, and I was like, oh my God, how do you do that? And so I literally reached out to them, signed up for the program that day. Like, while I was on my paid leave from work, I was starting to build this business. And then I hadn't actually made any money, but I was just like, this feels like what I'm meant to be doing. And so a few weeks later, I emailed my boss and said, I'm not coming back, and booked a ticket to Bali.
Nice.
And yeah, it opened me up to a whole different world of like, I was going to events in America with like millionaires and hanging out in mansions and just like, it was this incredible lifestyle, and I was earning like $20,000 a month, which was just insane. But then that company shut down. So that's when things started to spiral again for me, because I was like, oh, what have I done? Maybe everyone else is right.
Yeah.
Maybe I am just meant to get a job, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so it was that journey of having everyone around me doubting me, not believing in it. And so that's what happened, like the last few years in my relationship and everyone else around me. And then, I just got to the point last year where I finally surrounded myself with people that did believe in me again.
Yeah.
And that's when everything picked up again and brought me here.
Yeah. So how do you feel now? Like, how is it, like, you feel liberating?
So,
Yeah.
So free. Like, just in so many ways, like not just in terms of what I do for work, but just the people we're surrounded with and the safety you feel, and just to like be yourself, and even just like appreciating our bodies. Like I was at a friend's birthday the other night and on the full moon, and we were dancing around topless in the rain, and it was just like, this is just so beautiful. Where am I? And that's like a normal thing, like your birthday as well. Like it's just normal for us to just be in our bodies now, and that's something I've never experienced.
Neither.
So yeah, it's like so liberating.
Yeah, it's really important the people that you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I feel like when you're surrounded by like-minded people that are uplifting you and, genuinely care about your individual experience on this earth, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, like that those are the type of people that you want to bring into your life and you want to attract into your life. And I think by doing that, it's kind of, you know, similar to your experience, stepping into this place of like self-acceptance and love and knowing that you're worth a lot more than what society leads you to believe, or what maybe perhaps the people that you're surrounding yourself with at the moment lead you to believe. A lot of the time I see people that are so bright with so much, you know, light and creativity, and I see that light dimmed due to the group that they associate with, because sometimes, whether we see it or not, if people aren't in alignment and they've got some sort of deep pain that's kind of stuck with them, and they're more, I guess you could say, like on the darker side of things, they're going to latch onto people with that light, and they're going to want to bring them down to their level. So it's really important to be aware of your intuition and trust it as well. Like you said, your soul was yearning for something else, and there was a lot of times where you kind of pushed it aside because you were hanging out with people that, you know, were living a completely different narrative, and in return, you know, that's kind of what you were like, no, like this is actually what it's like, right? But when you finally decided to listen to your intuition, you just like clicked. Everything clicked for you. Yeah.
And it's interesting you bring that up as well, because they used to say that I was judgmental and I thought I was better than them and things like that. And so it made me feel really bad about that I was a bad person. And so I'd try to not act like I was better. I was like, but I don't think I'm better. I just don't want to do life the way you do. Like, I think there's better things to do than sit around drinking every day.
Absolutely.
And they just didn't see that you could have fun without being drunk. And and so then I started to feel like I was boring, and then that's when I started to just shut myself off, because I was like, well, I don't want to do what you're doing. I don't I'm just gonna be on my own, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
and it's I feel like when you've got people that are kind of disrespecting you in a sense of being, calling you those sorts of names, being like you're the judgmental one. Obviously, that's something that they haven't dealt with within themselves as well, and they're just projecting that stuff onto you. Because they probably know you're right, and so more often than not, when people know you're right, they get defensive if they don't want to hear it. And so you're experiencing that, but because you were kind of so swayed by that lifestyle and by those people, kind of it sounds like you didn't know who you were at that time, so you kind of just shut yourself off, and that's, I guess, when the depression would have kicked in, because you were in a job and you're surrounded by people you didn't necessarily want to be surrounded by, and with a partner you didn't necessarily want to be with, and that stuff happens. Depression, anxiety, that stuff's real. It is, and I really truly believe it's created because we're not living in alignment, and because we're too focused on what society has to say about us rather than listening to what we want to say about us. We let media define our worth, we let others define our worth, we let consumerism, we let capitalism, we let all of these other things define who we are, instead of taking a second to actually be like, no, this is what I am. And that shit, all that outer stuff, the exterior, external, like all that stuff is what creates anxiety and depression. It's bigger than it's ever been. It's a phenomenon at the moment, anxiety and depression. It's they're saying it's like more and more young teens and young adults are experiencing it, and I really believe that it's due to the content that we are seeing in mass media production that's being fed to us. And it's like, there's good stuff out there. There's a lot of good stuff in the media, and I think media is one of those things where you can use it as a superpower for the good, for the common good, but you can also really use and abuse it and use it for the bad. And unfortunately, when you're a young adult or a teenager, you're absorbing everything. You're so impressionable. And so a lot of the times, because the bad is more enticing, and that's the stuff we wanna latch onto and we wanna believe, but because that bad looks so good, and it's not really real,
Yeah.
that's what is creating that anxiety and depression, because we want to kind of live like that or be that person or have that body instead of, you know, being like, wait a second, like this is my body. This is the life that I actually want to live. I don't want to live that life, but if I did want to live that life, totally cool. Go and get it. Be a go-getter. If that's what your intuition's saying, do it. 110%. But a lot of the time, I don't think people actually know. They don't know what they're being fed is poison at the end of the day. And it does create, you know, this feeling of being lost and down and depressed and anxious.
And yeah, because I think you're not encouraged to be an individual. You're encouraged to be like everyone else. And you go to school, you wear uniforms, you're told when you can do certain things. You've got rigid schedules to follow, and it's just like, this is what you have to do in life. You have to just follow all of these steps and tick all these things off the checklist.
Settle.
And then, your dream life is the house and the kids, and that's the end. And I just remember looking around and going, but there's so much more out there.
Absolutely. And there is. If your soul's calling for it, you know that it's out there, because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, and if you want a house and a family and a husband or a wife and kids, like, and that's what your soul yearns for, fucking epic, amazing. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. Like, we've all got our own personal dharmas. Like, we all have our own individual paths that we're going to take and explore. But I think it's like, what it boils down to is kind of stepping back out of what's normalized in society and being like, wait a second, is that actually what I want, or is that what society wants me to want? It's questioning. It's being a critical thinker is really important.
And I was actually one of the kids in school that used to always get told, like, I was very quiet and very shy, but I would always ask questions like, why? Why is it that way? Why? And then I think that's why I ended up becoming so, like, shut down, because I was always told, like, that's just the way it is. Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
And so then you just start to follow the rules and be the good girl, because I learned that that's the way people would like me.
Absolutely. And it's bigger for women than it is for men too. We are really heavily conditioned and brought up to be good girls, to not ask questions, to sit still, do as you're told, have a husband, babies, you know, like,
don't cry, don't show emotion.
Oh my god, but you're crazy, but you're also really crazy in emotion. Don't show them, but you're a crazy bitch. Where the fuck does that make sense? Yeah, it's really, it's so sad to see. Like, women are so oppressed, and half of us don't even realize it. Half of us don't realize it, and we don't realize that it's affected us and it's affected our voice. And I think that's, for me, my mission is to have women know that they have a voice and share their story, because it's so important, because someone like yourself, you were so heavily influenced by what society and everyone else was telling you to do. You shut your voice off. That little girl that loved to question everything, you know, like, what a beautiful thing questions are, to question the world, to question why we're here, like, to question, is that really what it's meant to be like? Like, that is a beautiful quality to have, and to have people shut that down and suppress that voice, for you to now be here with a voice, like, that's the juicy stuff. That's what I want people to feel and to have, and, like, especially women, because what you brought up is so valid and so relevant in today's society still. You're right. People are just like, that's just the way it is. No more questions. No more questions.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and I think I love what you're doing, and I love, like, that I decided to invest in a coach last year, because that was her big mission, was giving women a voice and teaching them how to fully express themselves. And that's the thing. I was like, I'm signing up for a business coaching, but it wasn't. It was just learning to be yourself. And she's like, once you're yourself, everything else just falls into place.
Absolutely.
Because everything touches everything, and it's all linked, and it's all about the energy and the frequency you're putting out. And if you are too scared to use your voice and speak your truth, then you're not going to have an impact. But when you speak from the heart and you share your story and your message, that's when you have a real impact. And
Absolutely.
it's so beautiful that you're giving people that space.
Thank you. It's beautiful that you're here. I love it. We've all got stories, right? Like, we've all got really incredible stories to share, every single one of us. But for me specifically, I really have a very strong feeling for women being heard. You know, hence the name. Hence the name, being heard. But it's true because, you know, like you said, no more settling. We are taught to settle. We have been taught from day dot to settle. And there needs to be an end to that. We need to stop settling. If you want more, go get more.
Yeah.
We're not going to take, you know, the leftover bones anymore. That's not what women are here for. We're not here to be, you know, a man's trophy or, you know, a mother 24/7, or that's not, you know, that's not all of our callings. You know, some of us are fucking, you know, we want to do stuff. We want to do some, like, stuff that the men are doing. We want to be in those high positions. We want to be, like, ruling the world and, you know, but we want to do it in a united and equal way as well. I think a big thing around, like, feminism, I've spoken about it before, you know, there's this, like, negative connotation around the world. A lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, oh, man hater, matriarchal, like, they want to rule the world and, like, kill all the men. Like, we don't want to kill the men. We love the men. We really love the men. Like, we just, you know, feminism at its core is just equality.
And yeah, it's funny you say that, because I never identified myself as a feminist for
Right.
that reason, because I was like, but I don't hate men. Like, there's so many good,
Absolutely.
really amazing men, especially that I've met recently, that are really supportive of women
Yeah.
and have safe spaces
Yeah.
for women. So it's good that you raised that point, because now I am like, oh yes, go women. And
Absolutely.
I think it's really important for us to take our place and to stand up. But
Yeah.
it's about doing it equally and not
100%.
shunning the men.
Absolutely.
And I was actually, like, on this really beautiful call in our program this week that a male hosted for us, where he took us through a process to connect with the inner masculine and release all the hurt and the pain that we've carried from men that have hurt us. And it was so beautiful that a man could facilitate that for us. And
Absolutely.
he's, like, at the beginning of the call, he asked us, each of us, to share how we felt, and he received it. And then he shared that morning he had cried, and, like, I was like, oh, it's just so beautiful that there's men out there that do that work.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think if we're going to be a thriving society, we've got to integrate both the feminine and the masculine into all of ourselves, you know? It's that balance of the energy is what's going to create a more sustainable way of living. It's what's going to create peace. It's what's going to create alignment with the earth. And I feel like that is, you know, that's the mission of equality. That's what feminism means to me. I also didn't used to identify as feminist. I had this really beautiful girl that I used to go to school with, and she was a feminist, and she was not afraid to fucking say it. And she was 16, mind you, like this chick, but she was heavily bullied because of it. Heavily. And unfortunately, I was in the group that I'd never, you know, it was never directly, but I was part of that group that was there saying stuff on the sidelines. And, you know, if I could go back and change that, I would, because I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I was really ignorant. And when I thought of what a feminist meant, it was a society constructed, right? Society's constructed this view around feminisms and feminists, that they are these crazy bitches that want to, like, chuck period bombs at you. Right? It's so true though. Like, some of the stories you'll hear about sometimes, it's just insane. And you know, I really have this newfound discovery with this word, and I full-heartedly identify as a feminist because I have seen what my sisters before me have fought for, You know, we have been fighting since the fucking day dot, since Roman Empire times, when they decided that women were only a seed carrier, and they went and mass slaughtered all of the women and young girls, children. Insane, right? And we carry that stuff in our blood. We do, you know. And then there was like the waves of feminism. Like, women have been fighting for equal rights legally for millenniums. Like, it's been insane. And to you know, to be where I'm at right now because of those before me, I'm extremely grateful and so proud to identify as a feminist and as a woman that feels empowered because of those that gave me this privilege.
Yeah. Like, I think about the times we live in now, and I just think like we are so lucky because we do have these platforms where we can use our voices, and we do have the support, and there's still a long way to go.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
There's so many of us rising up now, and there's so much support for it. So it's such an amazing time to be alive. And how you spoke about intuition as well. Like in the past, like women would have been burnt for that because that's witchy.
I know.
We can so we shut those parts of us down for so long, and it's like we're actually in this time where it's being embraced again, and women are really tapping into that spiritual side as well, and like all their inner gifts, which is really amazing.
And it's amazing to witness and be a part of. And you know, like you said in your writing, all the wild, all the sensual, like, you know, crazy, like women are so powerful, and we are everything, you know, and our gift is our intuition, and it is our sexuality and sensuality, but it's also our nurturing and our caring. And like, we have such an abundance of these beautiful gifts that have been shunned, and we carry that in our blood whether we know it or not. So a lot of the time expressing some of those or one of those feels unnatural or uncomfortable for a woman, and it might not even be because society's impacted them. It's literally just because it's lineage trauma. And that's incredible stuff. That is like some really deep rooted, powerful shit that we carry because someone else before us was mistreated in a way that we are now privileged to live in a completely different world. And you know, it makes me really sad to know that like my sisters and mothers and grandmothers before me have lived a life where they've actually had to properly fight with their fists to get us to where we are right now. But I'm also really proud of that because it shows strength, because we're still here, because y'all don't need us. You guys need us. And we need you. And it's just all like, it's all about balance. At the end of the day, it's all about finding that balance, really. There's no, it's finding a world in where there is no patriarchy and there is no matriarchy. That's like the ultimate goal. And no settling. What would be, I guess, like, what would be the advice that you would give to women out there that have found themselves in a similar situation to you?
Good question. Really look at the circle of the people you're surrounding yourself with, because it's scary to make those decisions on your own, and that's why I didn't do it for so long, because I felt like I was just going to be on my own and I had nowhere to go and nowhere to turn. And it's only once I changed my circle and had the support around me and had like women that I could talk to, and they would like, whatever happens, like, we're here, you can stay with me, you can do this, like, you're not on your own. And that's what gave me the courage to do stuff. And also just know that you are powerful, and no matter what happens, like, you're always going to be okay, because if you follow your heart, then you're going to be led on whatever path you're meant to be on. And that's like, there's been times in the last year where I've been like, I don't know where I'm going to be living. I don't know if I'm going to have a house. I don't know where my income's coming from.
So
like
many unknowns.
literally.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but this is what I have to do. This is what feels right to me. And it literally all just happened like so suddenly. Everything just lined up. So yeah, trust that intuition.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me and sharing your story and all of your beautiful thoughts and opinions. And I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just the best. I love this because I love conversation. I think conversation and storytelling is one of the most powerful tools of communication and, you know, empowering and inspiring something within people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, so fun.